Do you ever find yourself just looking around at normal, everyday trends or how most folks interact, and you just feel completely out of sync? It's like, I don't know, like everyone else got some secret manual for how to operate in society, and you somehow totally missed the memo? Well, if you constantly feel like you're operating on a completely different frequency than the rest of the population, you are absolutely in the right place. Okay, let's dive into this explainer. Today, we're breaking down a really fascinating psychological framework that reveals something pretty incredible. You aren't broken, and you definitely aren't weird. You might actually just possess something highly unusual.
It's a heavy question, right? Do you feel different from the crowd? That lingering, heavy sense of being disconnected or just fundamentally different from everyone else? Man, it can feel incredibly isolating. You've probably spent years trying to camouflage yourself, trying to force your brain to care about the things everyone else seems so invested in. But what if that difference isn't a deficit at all? What if instead of being a flaw, this feeling is literally the very first indicator of an unrecognized gift? Psychology actually suggests that this exact feeling of disconnection is the hallmark of what's classified as a rare mind.
And here is the absolute most fascinating part of this whole concept. People who actually possess this kind of rare mind, they almost never realize they have it. They just assume they're flawed. So, in this explainer, we're going to walk through 6 highly specific signs that indicate your brain just works on a completely different level than the average person. We're going to decode your behaviors. But listen, pay very close attention as we go through this list, because the 6th and final sign we're going to cover, it is by far the most powerful and honestly, arguably the most dangerous indicator of all. Let's see how many of these actually resonate with you.
Section 1. Solitude and deep thinking. So sign number 1 is all about where you draw your energy from. You see, for most people, a crowd acts like a giant battery charger. But for a rare mind, being in a large group of people for an extended period is mentally exhausting. Your battery drains fast. Because of this, you might have been slapped with the antisocial label. But hey, let's totally reframe that right now. You aren't antisocial. Your brain is just highly sensitive to surface-level noise. Just notice that light bulb moment when you're finally alone. The fatigue instantly vanishes. Your brain doesn't shut down, it suddenly activates. Solitude is your true comfort zone, and it's exactly in these quiet, isolated moments that your absolute best, most innovative ideas naturally start to flow.
That brings us right to sign number 2, deep-level thinking. Most people out there just operate on a surface level. They get an answer, accept the what, and happily move on with their day. But your brain, it flat out refuses to do that. You're practically hardwired to pull out a mental magnifying glass and immediately start deconstructing the whole situation. You're relentlessly asking why did this happen, and how does it actually work beneath the surface? Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that while this relentless overthinking can feel incredibly frustrating, especially when you're agonizing over a simple conversation at 2 a.m., make no mistake, this deep-level processing is exactly what sets your intellect completely apart from the average person.
Section 2. Misunderstood as lazy. Have people ever called you lazy or, maybe unmotivated? This happens constantly to people with this specific psychological profile. Because you don't immediately jump up and tackle every single task the split second it's presented to you, society just slaps you with that yawning lazy label. So the crucial point is, you are not lazy. The reality is that your mind is just highly, highly selective. You outright refuse to do things blindly just for the sake of looking busy. Before you exert an ounce of your energy, your deep-thinking brain absolutely insists on evaluating if the task actually makes sense. Does it have real value? Is it truly worth doing? It's not a lack of energy at all. It's an incredibly efficient allocation of it.
Section 3. Intuition and curiosity.
All right, sign number 4 is this almost superhuman people-reading ability. You don't need to spend months getting to know someone to figure out who they really are. You have this intensely sharp intuition that lets you instantly detect who is genuine and who's just, putting on a fake persona. You can literally just feel it in their energy, their words, their subtle little behaviors. And because your radar for inauthenticity is tuned so high, you naturally protect your own energy. That means you don't connect with just anyone. You would much rather have an incredibly small, tight-knit circle of authentic friends than its massive network of surface-level fake acquaintances.
Sign number 5 really explains your interests. Look, the crowd finds safety in following the latest trends, right? They like what everyone else likes because it basically guarantees social acceptance. But a rare mind operates totally differently. You don't care about the downward trend of popularity. Instead, you follow your curiosity, no matter how niche, bizarre, or completely unpopular it might seem to the masses. And this brilliantly illustrates that having completely different interests from your peers isn't weird. Actually, it's a powerful, active choice to pursue genuine intellectual stimulation over just mindless mainstream conformity.
Section 4. The ultimate sign, control. Here we are at sign number 6, and as promised, this is the absolute most formidable characteristic of a truly rare mind: absolute emotional control. In a world where most people react impulsively to every single inconvenience, argument, or trigger, you operate on a very simple two-step system. Step 1, observe. Step 2, respond. When a highly stressful or volatile situation pops up, you don't explode. You don't let your emotions totally hijack your brain. Instead, you step back internally, observe the reality of the situation without any panic, and only then do you choose a highly calculated response. This is exactly why this trait is considered so dangerous, or rather, so powerful. Think about it. A person who cannot be emotionally provoked simply cannot be manipulated. This disciplined pause between observation and response builds immense, completely unbreakable mental strength.
Section 5. What is your score? Let's move to and see how this builds as we ask you to tally up your personal traits. I want you to think back through the 6 signs we just broke down. Did you recognize yourself in them? Well, here is the psychological threshold. If you possess just 3 to 4 of these traits, there are exceptionally high chances that your mind operates on this very rare, elevated level. You really don't need a perfect 6 out of 6 here. Hitting that magic number of 3 means your cognitive wiring is distinctly different from the average person, even if you spent your entire life completely unaware of it. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought and question today. How many signs do you actually have? Take a moment today to truly reflect on your score. It is time to stop judging yourself for not fitting into that traditional mold and start recognizing the completely unique mental architecture you've been gifted. If this explainer opened your eyes to how your brain works, take a second to share which of these signs resonated with you the absolute most. Because honestly, understanding your rare mind is the very first step to finally unlocking its full potential.